Hare Krishna. Welcome, Shastra Sar Pradha Prabhu, to our 10th series, 10th session on the Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhuḥ. And it has been quite some time before, we had our previous session. I think our previous session was in August. But after some time, we are having this 10th session. So I'd like to do a brief recap of what we did in the previous session, which was session number 9. We covered the 6th verse till the 10th verse of the first division of the Eastern wave of Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhuḥ. So, is there anything, Prabhu, that you wish to ask from that previous session?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. So, since it has been some time, I hope you have revised what was there in the previous talk. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
All right. So, let's begin our session number 10. We'll do a small Mangalacharan and then we'll begin. So please repeat after me. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Soyam Rupaha Kadamahyam
Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam
Dadati Swapadantikam.
Dadati Svapadantikam.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīla
Jai
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. So I'll share my screen where we had left off last time, and you will be able to see it now. So this is where we paused last time. Now we had completed the previous verse, which is verse number 10th, and let's just do a Simhavalokan. You know what is Simhavalokan?
The gaze of a lion, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Looks back.
Simhavalokanam is equal to Simha Avalokanam. Avalokanam means the gaze of Simha, of the lion. So when the lion walks a few steps ahead, he looks behind. So that is how we should study Shastra. After we walk a few steps ahead, we should look behind. So in the 10th verse, what did Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī say? Tatradau sushtu vaishyashtyam asyaha kathayatum sputam lakshanam kriyate bhakter uttamaya satam matam. So you can read the translation.
Therein, in order to clearly describe her specialty, the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti are described as acceptable to the sadhus.
Okay, so the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti will be described. Okay, basically, these characteristics are as the sadhus have accepted, not as I think. So there is not his own speculation involved in this. So he is going to give the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti as they have been accepted by the previous sadhus. So that is what Rupa Goswami is saying. So when you give the characteristics of something, basically you are defining it. I hope you're able to understand. How do you define, what is the definition of, let's say, how do you define um, a particular animal? Let's say, how do you define a tiger?
You state the certain defining characteristics of the tiger.
Okay. Can you tell me what is a tiger?
It's a large cat that has stripes.
Yeah. So you are what you are giving right now are the lakshanam. Yeah, characteristics. So when you give the characteristics of any particular entity, what you are basically doing is you are defining that entity. So he's saying Uttamaya Bhakte Lakshanam. So the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti Kriyate are described. We will add Kriyate means they will be described in the next verse. So in the next verse, we are going to be describing the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti. So when we are describing the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti, it means what are we doing?
You are defining Uttama Bhakti.
Yes. So you are going to define Uttama Bhakti. But what is the purpose of defining Uttama Bhakti? So the string which connects that is in order to describe her specialty. Okay. So in order to describe her specialty. So that specialty, what is the specialty? There will be 6 specialties of Uttama Bhakti listed. You know what are the 6 specialties of Uttama Bhakti?
Anyabhilashita Shunyam.
No.
Or
Kleshagni Shubhada. Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lagut. She destroys all distress. So there will be 6 specialties basically of Bhakti, which will be described later. But in order to describe them, so Rupa Goswami says, I want to give 6 specialties of Bhakti. So somebody will ask, but what is Bhakti? I hope you're able to understand. So before you give 6 specialties, let's say I want to say, if I tell you, I want to tell you 6 specialties of the Indian tiger. What is your first question?
What is an Indian tiger?
Yeah. So in order to later give the specialties of Uttama Bhakti, first he has to define what is Uttama Bhakti. Right. So Jīva Gosvāmī had told in the commentary why Uttama only. Because if Bhakti is not Uttama, basically it doesn't carry all the characteristics of Bhakti. If Bhakti is mixed with something else, it doesn't have 100% of the characteristics. Like I told you, if you want to define what is gold, so you need what percentage of purity?
100%.
So you can't have a mixture and then you can't have a mixture of gold and silver and then you can't use that to define gold. If you want to define gold, you will have to have 100% pure gold. So if you want to define Bhakti, you will have to have 100% pure Bhakti, which is not mixed with anything else. So that the term for that Bhakti is which Bhakti?
Uttama Bhakti. Prabhu, I have a question.
Right. Yeah, please.
So you're mentioning Kleshagni Shubhada, then there's also later comes Sudurlabha. But in this case, so if only Uttama Bhakti is being described, someone who's just starting off with their sadhan bhakti, they still have to overcome many anarthas. So in that case, their bhakti is not Sudurlabha, only like Prema Bhakti would be Sudurlabha. So how would sadhan bhakti also be within the realms of Uttama Bhakti, because it might not hold all of the 6 characteristics of Uttama Bhakti?
Yeah, so when we get to that verse, there will be a commentary by Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Although in this series we are not studying his commentary. So he says that the first 2 characteristics, Kleshagni and Shubhada, are available to the sadhak during the time of sadhan bhakti. And Moksha Laghutakrit and Sudurlabha, the 3rd and 4th characteristics, are available during Bhav Bhakti. And Sandrananda Visheshatva and Shri Krishna Karshani are available during Prema Bhakti. So
yes, Prabhu, then how would sadhan bhakti be Uttama Bhakti? Because then sadhan bhakti would not have the characteristics of
those are not characteristics. Those are specialties. Vaishishtya.
Okay.
Characteristics are in this verse.
Okay. Okay.
This very technically it has been the term is not lakshanam. The term used is vaishishtyam. What is the term?
Vaishishtyam.
So when those 6 will be described, those are 6 lakshanam or 6 vaishishtyam?
Vaishishtyam.
So you may have a tiger may have 6 specialties, and you may get the entire tiger with you. You may have an entire tiger with you in a particular forest. But does it mean that the tiger displays all the specialities all the time?
No.
No. But the tiger displays all the characteristics all the time. I hope you're able to understand. So there is a difference between characteristics, lakshanam, and vaishishtyam, specialty.
So essentially, so like Sandrananda, Visheshatma, Sri Krishna, Karshani, and Sudurlabha and so on, those are just certain specialties that are experienced by the sadhaka once they reach that certain stage.
But all the while they can be performing Uttama Bhakti.
Okay.
Right? As soon as the criteria is satisfied, criteria specified in this verse is satisfied, then they are performing Uttama Bhakti. Okay, so let's begin. This is, as I said previously, this is what we call this is a Sangya Sutra. It is defining what is Uttama Bhakti. It is also Adhikar Sutra. Adhikar means, last time I said that there is something known as an Adhikar Sutra. Adhikar Sutra means, I gave an example of traffic rules. If you remember that, now the traffic rules for California. And then that is Sutra 1. So then from that Sutra, the Adhikar, the domain of traffic rule starts. So from this is an Adhikar Sutra. Adhikar Sutra means from this sutra, from this verse onwards, what? The Adhikar or the domain of which Bhakti is going to start?
Uttama Bhakti.
And this domain is going to stay till the end of the literature. I hope you're able to understand. This domain is going to stay till the end of the literature. So from this point onwards, the Adhikar or the domain of Uttama Bhakti is beginning. So therefore, this is the Adhikar Sutra. Plus, this is also the Samgya Sutra. Because what is the Samgya Sutra? Samgya Sutra defines a particular new term, technical term. So the Sangya here is Uttama Bhakti. And this is what defines that particular term, Uttama Bhakti. So let's see what is Uttama Bhakti, and let's try to decode the verse. Please repeat after me. Anyabhilashita shunyam.
Anyabhilashita shunyam.
Jnana karmadhyanavritam.
Jnana karmadhyanavritam.
Anukulyena krishnanu.
Anukulyena krishnanu.
Shīlanam bhaktiruttama.
Shīlanam bhaktiruttama.
All right. So we have to understand that when you define a particular term, that term should be included in the definition. For example, in mathematics, there is you might have studied in mathematics, there is a technical term called as pi, Pi. So what is pi?
3.14.
Yeah, 3.14. But there is also a technical definition of it. Basically, you can, what is that? The circumference divided by the diameter, basically. So that is what the value of pi is. So is it diameter or radius? I don't remember. It's been a long time. I think it's circumference. There is a formula for it. The circumference of the circle divided by the diameter or radius, something like that. So Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. So what I was saying was, for example, if you have pi and then you say, what is pi? So then in the definition you have to write pi is basically, and then you give the definition, whatever you how pi is 22/7. This is how you define it basically. So in the definition, the term has to be included. I hope you're able to understand. So similarly, in our definition, is the term included?
Yes.
Yes. So we will do a breakup of the words. Okay. So Uttama Bhakti. Basically, Uttama Bhakti is what? So what is Uttama Bhakti? So this we have to understand. So there are three characteristics given. All right. What are the three characteristics of Uttama Bhakti given? In these three characteristics, everything in Uttama Bhakti is covered. What is the first characteristics?
Anyabhilashita shunyam.
Anyabhilashita shunyam. Characteristic 1. Jnana karmadi
Anavritam.
Anavritam. Third is Anukulyana Krishnanu
Anukulyana Krishnanu Śrīlanam.
Śrīlanam. And these three are
Uttama
what?
Bhakti.
Uttama Bhakti. Yeah. So these three are Uttama Bhakti. All right. So just Anyabhilashita shunyam. All right. So these are the three characteristics. Now there is a relationship of there are three characteristics given, and these three characteristics we will understand. But first and foremost, we have to understand which is the first characteristic that we should translate. Should we translate this first? Should we translate this first? Or should we translate this first? Which one should we translate first? So let's call this characteristic 1. Let's call this characteristic 2. Let's call this characteristic 3. And let's call this the term to be defined. I hope you're able to understand. So this is what it is. So which characteristic should be defined first? 1, 2, or 3?
I think it all culminates in Anukulyana Krishnanu, but I think that we could just go in order. We could define starting with
So the first thing is, because when we start defining it, we will realize that this is the main characteristic. Okay. These two are just acting as adjectives of this. You know what's an adjective?
Yes.
Yeah. For example, we say blue lotus. So what is the adjective there?
Blue.
I hope you're able to understand. So the main term is Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Okay, this is the main term. Krishna and Anushilanam combines to become Krishna Anushilanam. But we'll just split it here. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. So how do you translate Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam? So we have to understand. See here. You have to go back. Shilanam. What is Shilanam? Shilanam it will be defined as any particular activity. Shilanam means what?
Any particular activity.
Which is performed anu. Anu means?
Following after.
No, repeatedly. Anu means following after. So any particular activity which is performed
repeatedly
in relation to
Krishna.
With which mood?
Favorability.
With favor. Anukulyena means favorability. So if you want to translate this will be translated as the culture of constant favorable
activity
constant activities
that are favorable.
disposed favorably towards whom?
Krishna.
Okay. Later, not only Krishna, but also from the commentary, we will come to know anyone related to Krishna. That will happen later, but we will not do this right now. Right now, we'll keep it simple. So what is Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam? Is the culture of constant activities disposed favorably towards whom?
Krishna and his devotees. And
That will come later. Okay, but right now, let's just take it Krishna. Okay. So Uttama Bhakti is the culture of constant activities. All right. Now, such activities, okay, should also be what?
Anyabhilashita shunyam.
Right. I hope you're able to understand. Huh? Now I will put here such activities should also be what? Anyabhilashita
Shunyam.
shunyam. So what is the meaning of Anyabhilashita shunyam? So shunyam, what does shunyam mean?
Zero or nothing.
Devoid. I'm devoid of abhilashita. Desires
Outside of bhakti.
outside. Anya. Anya means desires besides those pertaining to
Uttama bhakti.
bhakti, basically.
Hmm.
You can't use a term within the term itself. You can't use Uttama Bhakti within Uttama Bhakti. I hope you're able. Otherwise, what will happen? It will, there is recursive. The definition will become recursive. We don't use Bhakti here, Uttama Bhakti here. We just say Bhakti, basically. So, devoid of desires besides those pertaining to what?
Bhakti.
Bhakti. So, this is A. And B. What is the characteristic remaining?
Jnana karmadi anavritam.
Yeah. So, what does avritam mean?
Covered by.
And anavritam?
Not covered by.
And not shrouded by jnana, karma, adi.
Etc.
Other philosophies such as jnana, karma, etc. What does etc. include? Sankhya, Ashtanga Yoga, Jyotish, etc. So, let's just see if we have framed a legible sentence. So, please read in sequence.
Uttama bhakti is the culture of constant activities disposed favorably towards Krishna. Such activities should also be devoid of desires besides those pertaining to bhakti and not shrouded by other philosophies such as jnana, karma, etc.
Wonderful. Yeah. All right. So A and B are basically acting as adjectives of which term?
Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam.
Right. Now you got it. That actually Anyabhilashita shunyam is what? Is Anyabhilashita shunyam a term in itself, or is it adjectivizing another term?
It's adjectivizing.
So Anyabhilashita shunyam anushilanam. Jnana karmadi anavritam anushilanam. I hope you are able to understand. That is what? Otherwise, by itself, what is Anyabhilashita shunyam? By itself, it is only expressing a bhav or a feeling. Anyabhilashita shunyam is nothing but a bhav, a feeling that something has to be devoid of desires besides desire for bhakti. But what is that something?
The culture of constant activity.
Krishnanushilanam. So what has to be Anyabhilashita shunyam?
Krishnanushilanam.
What has to be Jnana Karmadi Anavritam?
Krishnanushilanam.
And what should Krishnanushilanam itself be?
Anukulya.
Right. I hope you're able to understand. Now you got the picture of the verse. Now anything left to be understood in the definition?
No.
No. So now we can go ahead and try to see what the commentator says. Right? Atha. Atha means now. Tasya lakshanam vadan eva. Now, vadan eva. Vadan is while speaking. While speaking. Lakshanam. Lakshanam is characteristics. So, lakshanam, once again, vadan eva. So, while speaking, lakshanam, vadan means while speaking, while describing the lakshanam. What does lakshanam mean?
Characteristics.
Tasya, her characteristics. Whose characteristics?
Bhaktis, Uttama Bhaktis.
So, why tasya lakshanam vadan eva? So, while describing her characteristics, Uttama Bhakti's characteristics, Grantham Arabhate, he begins the literature. Now he finally begins the literature. With which verse?
Anya.
Anya iti. So, Anya Pilashita iti. So, the literature begins with the verse Anya Bilashitam iti. Now he takes this term, Anushilanam. First and foremost, see, which is the first term that Sri Jīva Gosvāmī picked up?
Anushilanam.
Right. So there is a reason why he could have started with the first term, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, but he doesn't start with the first term, Anyabhilashita Shunyam. In fact, Anyabhilashita Shunyam is going to feature pretty late in the commentary. He is starting with the term Anushilanam. Right. Now, what is the reason for starting with the term Anushilanam? It has to be understood. So why does he start with the term Anushilanam? Is there a reason why? So we have to think about this. So the reason behind starting with Anushilanam is because in every sentence there has to be at least one verb. In every sentence there has to be at least one verb. One verb. Can you frame a sentence, a complete sentence in English without using a verb?
No.
It is not possible. Let's say a very small sentence like I am happy. This also has a verb. What is the verb?
Am.
So similarly, there is no sentence, no complete sentence which doesn't have a verb in it. And the verb is the main part of the sentence. So in this particular term, in this particular verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. Bhakti-ruttama. There is a term which is acting as a verb. Acting as a verb. So that is, which term is showing activities?
Krishnanushilanam.
That too, basically, that activity is shown by which term?
Anushilanam.
Right. So the term which is playing the part of a verb here is Anushilanam. And how does Anushilanam translate? The culture of constant activities. So Shilanam is culture of activities and Anu is constant. That we know. So this is the only term which is going to give a sense of a verb in the entire verse. So Anushilanam, as I said, is the only term which is giving a sense of activity. All right. All other terms, there is no sense of activity. All other terms are just adjectivizing Krishna Anushilanam. So the only term which is specifying some activity is Anushilanam. Okay, so now, therefore, Sri Jīva Gosvāmī starts with this. He says Anushilanam atra. Now here let's take the term Anushilanam. Now first we have to understand what is the, how is the term, Anushilanam. Our term is Krishnanushilanam. All right. So for the time being, we want to focus on this term Anushilanam. We will add Krishna to it later, but for the time being, we want to focus on which term? Anushilanam. So Anushilanam is formed basically by a combination of three things in grammar. All right. What are the three things? First is, it is formed by, it has a prefix. What is the prefix?
Anu.
Anu. Then it has a verbal root. The verbal root is shil. And it has a suffix. The suffix here is lyut. Okay, what is the suffix?
Lyut.
Lyut. So from lyut, it is a grammatical suffix. This ta will go away. Okay, and la will go away. So what will remain?
U.
U. And this U turns into ana later. There is a Sanskrit sutra, Yuvor Anakau. So this, it will turn into ana. Okay, so then what will be the combination? Anu,
Shilana.
Shil, Anam. Okay, so Anu Shilana. And then that gets added. So Anu Shilanam. All right. So basically, this is how it is. If in English, if we take a verb, let's say we take a verb uncooked. Is this a verb or not? This term is defining the sense of an activity. It gives the sense of an activity. All right. Or you can say recooked. It is giving the sense of an activity. So what is the prefix here?
Re.
Re. What is the verb here?
Cook.
And what is the suffix?
Like ed.
So in English, there is no concept of verbal root. In English, you directly have verbs. In Sanskrit, you have verbal roots. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, the structure is the same. I hope you're able to understand. Similarly, our term is made using three parts: Anu, Shil, and Ana. So these are the three parts. All right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, basically, let's go back. He says, Anushilanam atra. Now, here the term Anushilanam. Kriya Shabdavat Dhatvartha Matram Uchyate. Basically, now let me try to explain it to you. So he's trying to say that Anushilanam here gives only Dhatvartha. What does it give only?
Dhatvartha.
So he says Anushilanam here. Anushilanam specifies only Dhatu Artha, Dhatvartha basically. So what does it mean? He gives an example. Kriya Shabdavat. Now let me try to give an example of this. For example, let's take the term. In Sanskrit, let's take the term Saha Karyam Karoti. Let's take the term Karoti. So Saha means he. What does Saha means?
He.
Karyam means work. Karoti means performs. Okay. So Karoti here means what?
Performs.
So the term performs. Now this is active voice. This is which voice?
Active.
So what is active voice? Do you know what is active voice?
it's being done, or
No. Active voice and passive voice.
active voice means has a passive voice means it doesn't have a direct like target of the activity, while active voice does.
Yeah. So active voice basically highlights the doer of the activity. Let's take another sentence. He cuts the tree. What is the verb here?
The verb is cuts, or
Cuts.
to cut.
Who's cutting?
He is cutting.
So the verb is indicating whom?
He.
So this is which voice?
This is active voice.
Okay. The tree is being cut by him. What is the verb here?
The verb here is still also cut.
Being cut.
Or being cut.
What is being cut?
The tree is being cut.
Now the focus of the verb has shifted to the object. Here the focus was on the subject. When the focus of the verb is on the subject, it is which voice?
Active voice.
When the focus of the verb is on the object, it is which voice?
Passive voice.
Passive voice. I hope you're able to understand. Now, let's say somebody is so expert in cutting trees, that he cuts trees left, right, and center. So, although he was performing, I hope you're able to understand. Although he was cutting tree, so trees automatically got cut. Now, got cut is the verb. But basically, there is nobody who's performing the activity here. The person is not mentioned. Is it mentioned who is doing it?
No.
So there is a third voice in Sanskrit. It is not in English, which is called neutral voice. Okay, in neutral voice, the verb doesn't indicate anyone, neither the subject nor the object. Okay, the verb indicates just its own meaning. Dhatu artha. I hope you're able to understand. So the trees automatically got cut. Did anybody perform the cutting?
No.
The trees automatically got cut. So the focus of the verb is on itself. In this sentence, read the entire sentence and see, what is the focus of the sentence upon? The activity or the subject or the object?
On the activity.
So the activity is denoting its own self. In this, read the sentence loudly.
He cuts the tree.
The focus is on whom?
He.
The focus is on the subject. Read this sentence loudly.
The tree is being cut by him.
The focus is on whom?
The tree.
And read this sentence.
The trees automatically got cut.
The focus is on whom?
Nobody. It's just on the verb.
So when the verb specifies itself, basically, its own meaning, its own bhava, its own artha, it's called dhatu artha. It's called what?
Dhatvartha.
So here, got cut is specifying what? Dhatu artha. Okay, it is specifying its own meaning. So meaning means artha, and cut is basically verb, basically in Sanskrit dhatu, artha of dhatu. So artha of dhatu becomes dhatu Artha, which
Artha.
means which is Tattvartha. I hope you are able to understand this.
Yes, Prabhu.
So in Rupa Goswami's sentence, please read the definition again.
All the way through, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Uttama Bhakti is the culture of constant activities disposed favorably towards Krishna.
All right. So, okay, let's just stop here. Other two terms are basically adjectives. Uttama Bhakti is Anushilanam. Let's just put it that way. Uttama Bhakti is
Anushilanam.
Now, if you take this sentence, Uttama Bhakti is Anushilanam. So the term Anushilanam, the focus is on the term Anushilanam. Focus is on which term?
Anushilanam.
Did Rupa Goswami say like this? He who performs Krishnanushilanam. Did Rupa Goswami put the focus on the subject?
No.
No. I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, Prabhu.
Rupa Goswami just gave Krishnanushilanam. Basically, this Krishnanushilanam is Uttama Bhakti. So the focus remained on whom?
On the activity itself.
So therefore, Jīva Gosvāmī says, Anushilanam atra kriya shabdavat dhatvartha matram uchyate. So like, karoti, he does. This is which voice?
Active voice.
Kurute is done by him. Is which voice?
Passive voice.
Kriya, activity. This is which voice?
Neutral voice.
I hope you're So kriya shabdavat, just like which term?
Kriya.
The term kriya is in which voice?
Neutral voice.
Karoti is in which voice?
Active voice.
Kriyate, sorry, not karute. Kriyate is in which voice?
Passive voice.
And kriya is in which voice?
Neutral voice.
So just like kriya shabda doesn't indicate subject or object. Kriya indicates its own self. So kriya shabda word, just like the term kriya indicates dhatvartha matram, only its own meaning. Similarly, Anushilanam also indicates its own meaning. I hope you are able. So the focus is not on the performer. The focus is not on the object. The focus is on the activity. I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, now perfectly fine. All right.
Yeah.
So this is a major thing which is done here. Okay, now. Dhatvartascha dvividah pravritti nivritti atmakaha. So then, basically, we have to understand that we are now entering into the domain of Dhatvartha. What are we entering into the domain of?
Dhatvartha.
Now we have to understand what is Dhatvartha. Because before, in understanding this itself, our rest of the time will be spent. So there is a concept of Dhatvartha. What the meaning of the sense of the verb, the sense of the verbal root, basically. The sense of the verb, or in Sanskrit, verbal root. Let's just simplify it and say the sense of the verb. Okay, so we have to understand something, this concept. This concept has not been explored sufficiently in the English language, but it's been explored to a great length in Sanskrit. So Dhatvartha is sense of the verb. All right. So now let's take a few verbs in the verbal roots in the Sanskrit language. Sanskrit doesn't have direct verbs. Sanskrit has verbal roots. From verbal roots, you make verbs by adding suffixes. Okay. So let's take a few verbal roots in Sanskrit. Okay. Let's take, I'll give a few examples of verbal root. Pach. Okay. Pach is used in the context of cooking. Okay. So pach is used to denote what?
For cooking.
Okay. Let's take another vach. Vach. Okay. Vach is for speaking. Okay. Let's take another one. Gum. Gum is used for traveling or going somewhere. Okay. Fourth, let's take the verbal root drish. Drish is used for seeing. So these are various terms. So various verbal roots. Pach, vach, gum, drish. All right. So these are verbal roots. Now, let me specify that every verbal root has two arthas, senses, two meanings or two senses. Sense here basically means meanings, or two senses. What is the first? It first is called as vyapar. What is the first sense of vyapar? Which is the sense of activity. And phalam, the sense of result. Let's just put it that way. So every verbal root has two arthas or two senses. The first is the sense of
activity,
and the second is the sense of
result.
Result. For example, let's take the first verbal root, pach. Pach denotes what?
Cooking.
Cooking. Now, to cook, basically. Pach means to cook. Now, let's take the first. In your mind, think of cooking. All right. So, vyapar, sense of activity. So, is cooking one activity or is it comprised of many sub-activities?
Many sub-activities.
What are the sub-activities involved in cooking? Let's just start. What is the first activity?
Cutting vegetables.
All right. First, basically, to take raw ingredients. Second, take utensils. Okay, to wash the utensils and ingredients. All right. To refine the ingredients by cutting, etc. Then so many other activities, basically. To add water, oil, etc. And then to add spices, salt, etc. And basically all this combined together is which aspect or which sense?
Vyapar.
So let's just translate artha as aspect, basically. Okay. So the aspect of activity and the aspect of result. So this is the aspect of activity of which dhatu?
Of pach.
Pach. And then after doing this vyapar, we get phalam. What is the phalam or what is the result? The result is cooking of a dish. Basically, I hope you are able to understand. Okay. This is for which verbal root?
Pach.
Pach. Now let's take the second verbal root. What was the second verbal root?
Vach.
Vach. Okay, vach. To speak. Now, what is the vyapar aspect? Can you tell me?
Opening your mouth, closing your mouth.
Open one's mouth. Push air from the lungs. To arrange the tongue in various ways, etc. Basically, right? This is all part of what?
Vyapar.
And the result that you get is basically the utterance of speech. I hope you're able to understand. So I've given two examples here. Now, rest of the examples we can do verbally. Gum, traveling. What is the vyapar aspect of traveling?
Packing your clothes, getting everything ready, walking.
No. This walking. Basically, gum basically means walking, not traveling as in.
Walking, then moving one leg, moving the other leg.
First is not just moving one leg. First is to look at the ground. Then after looking at the ground, then to decide a proper direction, then to raise the first foot, then to place it forward, then after placing it forward, then raising the other foot, etc. Right? And the phalam is traversal of distance. What is the phalam?
Traversal of distance.
Right? Now drish. But drish, what is the vyapar? To open one's eyes, to align them with an object. All right? These are then to look in the direction of that object, to align it on an object. So these are all basically, this is vyapar. And phalam is perception. What is the phalam?
Perception.
All right. So every verbal root has two arthas, two aspects. Both of these are dhatvarthas. Both of these are what?
Dhatvarthas.
I hope you are able to understand. So what are the two dhatvarthas?
Vyapara and phalam.
Very good. Pakka. Now you got it. Okay?
Yes.
But now, even though every verbal root has how many aspects? How many arthas?
Two aspects.
Now, let's say I tell you the term cooking. Which term did I use?
A pach, or to cooking.
Just English term, cooking. So, when you speak cooking, which aspect comes to your mind? Vyapar or phalam?
Phalam usually. Or sorry, vyapar. The activity of actually cooking.
I hope you're able to understand. When I say walking, what comes to your mind?
The vyapar.
Let's just instead of saying cooking, walking, present tense, I just say to cook. I just say to cook. What comes in your mind? Vyapar or phalam?
Vyapar.
To walk. What comes to your mind?
Vyapar only.
To speak. What comes to your mind?
Vyapar only.
So although there are two arthas, the main artha is which artha?
The vyapar.
I hope you are able to understand. So basically, what Jīva Gosvāmī says, what Jīva Gosvāmī wants to all of us to understand, that dhatvartha basically refers to what?
To vyapar only.
All right. So in bhakti, in anushilanam, because anushilanam denotes both things, vyapar and phalam. Let's go to the term anushilanam now. We took so many things. Okay. Anu plus shil plus anam. Which is the verbal root here?
Shil.
So shil is our verbal root now. Shil basically means to practice. I hope. What does shil mean?
To practice.
All right. Now it has two aspects. What is the first aspect?
Vyapar.
Vyapar. Okay. To learn a new activity. Okay. To see someone else doing it, to imitate that same activity. Basically, this is all what?
Vyapar.
Okay. Phalam is execution of activity. What is phalam?
Execution of the activity.
In this case, anushilanam is execution of bhakti. What is it? Is execution of what?
Bhakti.
Bhakti. So, and vyapar is activities of bhakti. Let's just put it that way.
So
Krishnanushilanam, the focus is on what?
On the vyapar.
And not on the phalam. I hope you're able to understand. So
Yes,
the focus is on activity. Bhakti means activity. I hope you're able to understand. The term bhakti refers not to what you will get after the activity. Bhakti is not something that you will get as a result of the activity. Bhakti is the activity. I hope you're able to. This is what he is trying to say.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
This is what is the.
That's so nice.
The sum and substance of what is being said. In English, it is said that love is a noun and a verb. You might be knowing this thing. Okay, so like somebody says, I love you. So here love is a what?
Verb.
Word. And I experience love. Here love is what?
A noun.
Now. So basically, love can be both verb and noun. Similarly, bhakti can have both senses. The sense of constant activity and the sense of the result of activity. But bhakti mainly refers to what?
Constant activity.
Right. So don't think that bhakti is something which I will get as a result of performing Anushilanam. I hope you're able to understand. Bhakti doesn't refer to phalam. Bhakti is always what?
Bhakti is always vyapar. It's always the activity.
Right. Okay. That is what bhakti is. And you should always remember this fact. Because devotees think ki after performing bhakti, what did I get? Bhakti is constant performance. Bhakti is Anushilanam. So you are not expected to ask this question. After performing bhakti, what did I get? That question itself is baseless. The thing is, bhakti itself is the act. And the act should generate more acts. And those more acts should generate more acts. Basically, that is what is vyapar. I hope you got it. What is the focus of Anushilanam here? When Jīva Gosvāmī says that I think I deleted that. Did I delete that? Yeah. Dhatvartha matram uchyate. He wrote that. We specified that. Yeah. Anushilanam atra kriya shabdavat dhatvartha matram uchyate. So Anushilanam denotes matram, only one thing. What does it indicate only?
Dhatvartha.
And dhatvartha is basically how many types?
2 types.
But mainly dhatvartha is indicating what?
The active type.
Vyapar. So we can just change this to say that vyapara matram uchyate. I hope you are able to. Now it becomes easy. Anushilana matra. You can remove the example also because now we don't need the example. Anushilana matra vyapara matram uchyate. All right. Okay. So this keep in mind. Okay. Now we'll remove this. all these examples. And then he says, Dhatvarthascha dvividaha. Dhatvartha is how many types?
2 types.
Now, from henceforth, Dhatvartha refers to what?
To Vyapar and Phala.
No.
Vyapar only.
Yes. Phala is, we are not here bothered about Phala now. No longer bothered about Phala. Okay. Let Krishna take the headache of Phala. We are not going to take that headache ever in our life. The headache of Phala is upon whom?
Krishna.
Yeah, because no matter how much bhakti you perform, can you assure a result?
The only result you can assure is more bhakti.
Yeah, that's okay. But is there a fixed result of performing bhakti?
No.
Does it bhakti work like a mechanical formula? You put some input and you get some output?
No.
So is the phalam in your control?
No.
So phalam is in whose control?
Krishna's control only.
So what is in your control?
The Vyapar.
So that is why for you, Anushilanam basically refers to Vyapar. Who will take the headache of phalam?
Krishna.
That's all. Phalam may come, phalam may not come. But you can continue to perform what?
The Vyapar.
Now somebody may say, but I wanted phalam. Right? But I wanted what?
Phalam.
What phalam did you want in your bhakti? Some
people want bhukti or mukti.
Right. But we are defining which bhakti?
Uttama bhakti.
Therefore, we are defining which bhakti?
Uttama bhakti.
Right?
Yes,
which
Prabhu.
is free from those desires. So, right now, from henceforth, we will know that bhakti is vyapar. Okay, the term vyapar in Hindi has a very different. Vyapar basically means business, but vyapar here has that. In Sanskrit grammar, vyapar means activity. So he says dhatvarthascha dvividaha. Dhatvartha is how many types?
2 types.
Okay. So then he is going to specify the 2 types. Pravritti nivritti atmakah kaya vang manasiyas tattat cheshta rupah. So the Dhatvartha is first type is of
Cheshta Rupa.
Cheshta Rupah. Add the term. Cheshta Rupah what?
Vyapar.
Second. Priti Vishadatmako Manasas Tattad which Rupa?
Bhava Rupa.
Bhava Rupa what?
Bhava Rupa Vyapar.
So basically, this is where we will pause today. So you have to, because you have to internalize these concepts. What is dhatu, artha, the 2 dhatu arthas, vyapar and phalam. And then basically, dhatu artha basically refers only to what?
Dhatvartha refers only to Vyapar.
Mainly to vyapar. I hope you have. Mainly to, and what is mainly being referred to becomes the, stand. Yeah, I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, Prabhu.
For example, in a crowd of 100 people, if it is raining and there's a crowd of 100 people, and 99 are holding umbrellas. So we say, hey, today everybody is holding umbrellas. I hope you're able. So similarly, the most prominent meaning, the most prominent dhatvartha is which? Vyapar or phalam?
Vyapar only.
So henceforth, dhatvartha refers only to what?
Vyapar.
So dhatvartha, I will put a bracket here. Vyapar is of how many types?
Cheshta, 2 types.
Cheshta Rupaha
and
Bhava. Now, what is Cheshta Rupa, what is Bhava Rupa? This we will cover next time. All right.
Yes, Prabhu.
So you're satisfied with how much we reached and how much we understood today?
Yes, Prabhu.
Right. So anything to ask in this, please let me know, or else we'll pause.
Sure, Prabhu. I don't have any questions at the moment.
At the moment, no questions. All right. So we'll pause here. Okay. And next time also, if you have any questions, you please let me know. And then next time we are going to see what is Cheshta Rupa and what is Bhava Rupa. Because so many times these terms are defined. But devotees I've seen often they don't get a clear idea of what is Cheshta Rupa and what is Bhava Rupa. So we will see what is Cheshta Rupa and what is Bhava Rupa, but that we'll have to wait for next time, right? Because
I had a quick question. So essentially, if we're only worried about vyapar, we're not worried about phala. How do we understand a statement like Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij?
Okay. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Okay. Who did the vyapar?
Who did the vyapar? But oh, acha, okay. But so
Guru Krishna Prasade. Prasade, the mercy of whom?
Guru and Krishna.
So what was the sadhaka's role in that?
Receiving the mercy.
And that he didn't perform any activity. What is the entire verse? Brahmanda Brahmite Kona?
Bhagyavan Jeev. Guru Krishna.
What does Bhagyavan mean?
Extremely fortunate. Jiva.
So he didn't perform any activity.
Huh.
Did he do something to get Guru Krishna Prasad?
No.
He didn't do anything. I hope you're able to understand. So the phalam was given by whom? The bij basically was given by whom?
By Guru and Krishna.
So I told you, who should worry about phalam?
Krishna should worry about.
Sadhak should worry about what?
About vyapar.
That's all.
So, Prabhu, in this verse, it's essentially saying that by mercy of Guru and Krishna, we get the opportunity to engage in the vyapar of.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
Understood. Right. Okay, yes. So we'll pause here. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.